Hello everyone, this is the exam educators, and today we are going to be learning about the business law, and this marks our first lesson, and I'm going direct to the point on the objectives of today's video tutorial. So one of the objectives of today's tutorial is the definition of a law. So we are going to define what is a law. The next is the purpose or the importance of a law in a society. We are going to learn why do we have to have laws in a society, and the third one we are going to deal with the classification of law. So in the definition of a law, we can define a law as the body of principles recognized and applied by the state in the administration of justice. So a body of principles recognized. This means that these principles are well known by the citizens, and these laws, these principles are applied in the state in the administration of justice. So we're going to learn about why do we have to have a law in the society, or what is the importance of a law in a society, or what are some of the importances of a law in a society. So one of the importance of a law in a society is to regulate the conduct the behavior of persons in the society. So one of the main purpose of a law is mainly to regulate the behavior of persons in the society. For instance, if a person breaks a certain law, he or she is responsible to the consequences of that law, of breaking that law. For example, if a person comes and damages your property, and then you sue that person to the court of law, then the person is supposed to maybe compensate you. And through this, we are able to regulate the behavior of persons in the society, because persons will not engage in, maybe will not break certain laws because there are harsh consequences of that law. So the next is to provide justice to the members of the society. For example, I can use the same example as I've used in the first importance. For instance, if a person comes and maybe damages your property, then you sue this person to a court of law. Then the court of law will have to rule out that the offender will have to compensate you for the damaged property. And by doing this, it will be as a way of providing justice to you. So the next, we have to maintain political and economic stability of a country. So each and every country has its own political and economic stability, or economic laws that promote stability in a country. For example, we have some political laws. For example, if maybe during elections there are certain laws whereby, maybe a law whereby it says that if you are above 18 years, you are supposed to vote. That is one of the law. So if you are supposed to vote, you will see that the citizens will have to follow that law, and by following this law, by following this political law, it will help to maintain stability in a country. The next one, you have the economic laws. For example, whereby every person maybe in a certain country is supposed to pay taxes to the government. That is an economic law, and by following that economic law, we are able to maintain stability in our country. So the fourth importance is to protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of individuals in the society. So for example, according to the Kenyan Constitution, there are certain rights, there are certain individual rights that are supposed to be followed. For example, we have maybe a person has the right to own property anywhere in this country. So by this law, everyone has the freedom maybe to own property in every part of the country, regardless of their tribe, and this helps to promote harmony in the society. So lastly, we have to provide the procedures and regulations regarding the dealings among individuals in the society. So there are various ways in which individuals are supposed to relate with each other, and the laws provide these procedures and those regulations that are in regard in dealings among individuals in the society. So next we'll have the classification of law. So in the classification of law, there are three main branches of law. That is the public law, we have the private law, and the substantial and procedural law. So we are going to discuss each at a time, and we are going also to discuss some of the maybe the sub branches of this law. So we are going to begin with the public law. So this law concerns the community, and everyone is affected by it. So each and every one of that is each and every person in a society is under the public law. So this public law has three sub branches. We have the constitutional law, the criminal law, and the administrative law. Beginning with the constitutional law, this is a law which regulates the functioning of the government and the relationship of individual persons and the government. So basically, as the explanation states, this is how the government and relates with individual persons, and this constitutional law regulates those functioning. That is how an individual can relate with the government. So next we have the criminal law. So this law basically is concerned with the suppression of behavior that disturbs the people of community. So for example, I can use the prior example that I had used earlier on. For example, if a person comes and destroys your property, so by following the criminal law, that person will be under the criminal law, and that person will maybe be punished according to that act that he or she has done. So by doing this, it will be suppressing that behavior that disturbs the people in the community. So the main objective of criminal law is to punish the law offenders. So on that we have the administration law. So this law deals with the machinery and procedures of implementing and regulating government businesses. So there are certain ways that ought to be followed in regulating the government businesses, and this is found in the administrative law. So those are some of the sub branches of the public law, whereby I have said that there is constitutional law, criminal law, and administrative law. So next we have the public law, the private laws. This law is concerned with the rights and duties of individuals towards each other than towards the state. So there is a slight difference between the public law and the private law. We have said that the public law is concerned with the community and everyone is affected by it. But unlike in private law, this law is concerned with the rights and duties of individuals towards each other than towards the state. This means that this law generally deals with how do people relate with each other. So still we have some branches of private law. We have the law of contract, we have the law of tort, we have the law of the family or the family law, and we have the law of succession and the law of trust. So we are going to start with the law of contract. So this lays down the conditions or agreements made between two or more persons. So for instance, two persons may agree. For instance, I can give an example. Maybe person A, person B agreed. Maybe person A agreed to lend some money to person B. So there are some conditions that they have to put down when making that contract. For example, they have to, the person A and person B have to agree when maybe person B will have to pay back the money owned by person A, and by how long should person B pay the money led by person A. So those are some of the conditions that are made on the agreements between those two persons, and this is contained in the law of contract. And the relationship is treated as legal binding. This means that if person B fails to pay back the money led by person A, then person A is eligible of suing that person B in a court of law, and person B will be responsible, will suffer the consequences made on the contract. Next, we have the law of tort. This lays down the laws whereby the offender person can be paid or compensated on damages caused by an offender. For example, if a person comes and destroys your property and then you sue this person in a court of law, according to the law of tort, it states that the person is supposed to compensate you back on the damages that he or she has caused. That is the law of tort. That we have the family law. This law governs such matters as marriage and divorce and the rights of parents and children. So family law basically governs the relationship between family members. For example, we have seen that it can deal with such matters as marriage and divorce. For example, maybe when a couple decides to divorce, there are some various procedures that you are supposed to follow, and these procedures are mainly in the family law. Then we have the law of succession. This law lays down the rules concerning inheritance of property. For example, maybe when the head of a family maybe dies, and maybe he or she had written a will on how his or her property are supposed to be inherited, maybe by their family members. So this is contained in the law of succession. This is the law which lays down the rules concerning inheritance of property. Next, we have the law of trust. This law is concerned mainly with the situation where one person is entrusted with the property to hold and administer for the benefit of another. For example, maybe there is a young person, maybe who have not attained full age, maybe that is 18 years, and maybe his parent owns some property, and maybe this parent has transferred to a far country. So this parent decides to leave that property under the care of a third party who is entrusted on that property to hold and administer for the benefit of that young person until when that young person attains full age. And when that person attains full age, the third party is supposed to hand over the property to the owner. So basically, we have said that the law is concerned mainly where one person is entrusted on some property just to hold and administer for the benefit of another. So lastly, we have the substantial and procedural law. The substantial law basically defines civil and criminal wrongs and provides remedies for each type of offense, meaning that this substantial law, it will define civil and criminal laws, and also it will provide a solution to those types of offense. Lastly, we have the procedural law. It consists of rules determining the manner in which the court proceedings are conducted in criminal and civil laws. So that marks the end of this lesson. We have discussed various objectives. We have learned what is the definition of a law. We have also learned some of the importance of law in a society, and lastly, we have done the classification of law. So that marks the end of this lesson, that is lesson 1 on business law. So thank you very much for following this video.